My name is Douglas Grummins. Thank you for joining me. Today, we're going to give you another podcast going into the differences between religions and our understanding of different religions, or why we should be one versus the other, which one would suit us best, or is it just too late in your evolvement that you've gone down a certain road, you've made an investment in your mind and in your soul towards what you believe is truth. So I'd like to go into some of these questions that we have before us, um, and give you a deeper understanding into you know either supporting your decision that you've made, whether your religion is Christianity or Sufism or Buddhism or Muslim. All these religions are different. They all differ in their teachings. They differ in their understanding of reality and what they believe truth is. One of our great minds of today, an atheist named Sam Harris, has stated that, I mean, they can't all be true. And I agree, for the most part, what Sam says is right, that they can't all be true. But it's not 100% right. It's only 50% right, because in a deeper sense, there's a meaning behind every religion that has a common thread, and that common thread we like to call God. So, in a way, you could say that God is the thread, the common thread between all religions. And each religion itself is like a bead of a necklace. And the beads all combined together make this beautiful necklace. And recently, I had a friend of mine I had a conversation with, and he was stating that. He didn't want to learn to meditate or study any other religion because he had firm foundations in his Christianity. And truly and honestly, I would say that I would never expect anybody to change their religion. It's totally not necessary because, like I said, each religion has a common thread. But it almost makes no sense to keep switching from one religion to the other if you can't find that common thread. There's a story I once read in an Osho book, and it was about a man that was raised, I think, in Germany, up to the age of like 3 or 4 years old, and then he was transported, and family was moved to America, and he totally forgot the German language growing up in America. And when the man reached into his late 70s, he became very sick, and he was lying on his deathbed. And even though he hadn't spoke German in 60 something years, he was speaking fluent German from his bedside, and he totally forgot that he was raised in America and had learned another language, which goes to say that the religion that you start out with, or maybe I should say the one that you discover uh, the existence of God, or the existence of this great immense love that we have for existence or for God. That's the religion that is going to be your core religion. And if you change religions, um, you're going to go away from that core. Or maybe I should say that yeah, you could go away from the core. But if you know that the core is this thread, this common thread that links not just every religion but everything in existence together, then there's no harm. You can study any religion you want once you realize the thread. You can realize the thread in Christianity just as well as you can in Buddhism. But that's just it. The approaches are different. So in the East, the approach is that God is within you, and that's the only God that exists. Is the God that's like polytheism, that it's God exists in everything. And in the Western approach is that God is outside of everything, and that's the only differences. But the common thread is the same. The thread is still there. There's a statement in the Bible that says that you can't serve two masters at the same time. And this is the meaning of what I'm trying to convey to you is that no, you'll just get confused trying to study like two religions at the same time, because the conflict will come when the core religion disagrees with uh, the uh, the essence of the religion you're trying to understand. Of course, there are millions of people, and in fact, maybe billions of people who have never realized that uh, the center of every religion is a common thread. Um, and for those people, who have never realized the core, then they're lost in darkness. They don't see the light, but it may not be their fault. They're just most people are just doing what their parents taught them to do, which in turn their parents, so your grandparents, they told your parents what to do, and this goes back for hundreds and hundreds of years. But it's been hundreds and hundreds of years that mankind has lived in darkness, and there are many different reasons for that to happen. But this is one example of how it begins and how it continues. I personally grew up as a Christian um, up into my 20s, and even when I began meditating, I kept Jesus and Jesus's teachings as my core. Um, but that didn't hinder my meditation at all. In fact, it seemed to coincide because I found out later that meditation and love are just two sides of the same coin. And for me, it was this combination of everything, helping my body to be well and well nourished. Um, it was a combination of learning meditation and diving into that aspect. But I continued to pray all at the same time. So I was knocking down the doors from every different direction. In a sense, for a while, it was like I was trying to find the door to the way out of the room in darkness, but I was groping the walls and groping the walls, and as I meditated, it was like a candle was lit in the room, and then I could find the door, and eventually I found my way out. And in that way of finding my way out, I discovered my core. I discovered the core of all existence. So, talking about all this searching and groping in darkness kind of reminded me of a passage that I read in a book called The Invitation by Osho. And Osho says, "It is good to remember our situation. Do your best. In spite of your darkness, blindness, unconsciousness, whatever you can do, do. But remember, it is not going to happen through your doing. It's going to happen because you are longing for it so deeply that existence cannot resist, cannot remain indifferent to you. So, although you are not prepared, nobody is prepared. Nobody knows the way. Nobody knows where home is. Nobody knows in which direction to move, what discipline to follow. But there are two kinds of people: those that are not aware of their situation of darkness and blindness, and there are those who think that they are not in blindness, that they are not blind, that they are not in darkness, that they know the way, that they know where they have to go, that they know what they have to do. These are the people to whom existence cannot happen. They are too much, and all that they know is absolutely false. They have not experienced it, but their falsity is so much identified with their being, it is their ego which says, "You are not blind." There is no darkness, and all that is needed, you know it through the scriptures, through the old masters, through reading, through learning, through studying. But all that is borrowed, it is not going to help. And we have borrowed many things from our parents and from our preachers and from our friends and everyone around of us, without experiencing it for ourselves. So this leads us to the most important question of our time and of our existence, and that is how do we realize the core? How do we realize God? For me, it took a combination of all the elements, a combination of love, meditation, compassion, passion for life, and all that life has given me. I mean, a deep uh, inner feeling of bliss for everything that has been given to me, a total gratefulness of all that existence has showered upon me, and that was my way. But that doesn't mean that it has to be exactly your way too, because in all honesty, every single person could have a different way, a different approach towards finding this core, for finding the realization of God. I would go as far as saying that it would definitely help to be close to or be in a relationship with a master or a person, a being of immense light themselves, an enlightened person, in other words. Just being in the presence of them, or actually even just like reading their words and understanding what they're trying to convey. I mean, if you read something, let's say, from Rumi or a Zen master or anything like that, and then take those thoughts and go into meditation, maybe with those as the last thoughts in your mind as you slowly drift into deeper states of meditation where the mind uh, doesn't exist. This is where you come in contact with your consciousness. Outside of the mind, we exist separately as a consciousness. I mean, you have to meditate and go into deeper states of meditation before you can realize that you are separate from the mind, you're separate from the body. But that's the power of meditation. And meditation can bring light into many aspects of your life, whether it's things you have read or things that you are currently trying to understand. If you take those things into meditation and let them be your last thoughts, then the meditation will bring light. Um, and these are things that I discovered, while I meditated, and definitely want to try to convey them and share these thoughts with my audience. I don't think there's anywhere written that it says that meditation only belongs to the East, or prayer only belongs to the West. I think that where the East meets West, where the inside meets the outside, there's a point, and that point is your consciousness. You are eternal. When you experience your consciousness, you can feel it expand across the universe and even bigger than that, because you are, and in essence, bigger than existence itself. But it's something that I only experienced when I began meditating and went deeper and deeper into my meditations throughout the years that I've been meditating. And honestly, I can also say that it's continually expanding. My horizons, my understanding of existence goes deeper and deeper every minute that I exist. And a person of love, a person of meditation, a meditator, becomes certainly more loving if he's meditating rightly. And that's the way to measure whether you're doing it right or not. Is if you become more compassionate and more loving, then you know you're meditating the right way. And the same with love. If you become more loving, in a way, your being will become more still, and you'll be meditative, even though you're not physically meditating. A person who can be 100% loving will automatically be in a state of meditation as well. So I get the inspiration to make these podcasts from relations with friends and conversations I have with people on the internet, and conversations I have with people that I know intimately. And in my heart, I know that these things that I share with you are immensely valuable. They are all like diamonds in a sense. And it reminds me of a story. Once upon a time, there lived an older Chinese man, and he was a fisherman. And he spent every day before the sun came up, he would walk from his little hut by the river down to the riverside, and then walk along the riverside till he found a good place to fish. And one time, when he was walking in the darkness before the sun came up, He was walking along the riverside, and he stumbled upon a purse, a little leather purse full of rocks. So he grabs the purse, picks it up, and doesn't think too much about it. And he continues to walk down to his fishing spot. He sits down and he casts his rod out, and not really catching any fish. He, out of boredom, he opened the purse up and felt the rock, and grabbed the rock and skipped it across the water, and boom, 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 and then the rock sunk into the middle of the river. And the river was really big, so I mean, he kept doing this over and over until he threw almost every one of the rocks out except for one of the last and the biggest rock he left for last. Um, and he picked that rock up and he raised it up above his head, and he's getting ready to skip it out into the river, and the sun came up, and a beam of light hit that rock, and at that moment the fisherman saw that that rock was not a rock. It was not just any rock. It was a diamond, a huge diamond. And he realized at that point that he was very, very rich. That that diamond was big enough, to support him for the rest of his life. But in the same time, a great sadness came over him because he realized that all those rocks were not just rocks; they were all diamonds. And the moral of this story is that we live in darkness. We don't know this core existence that I talk about in this lecture, and we go our whole lives wasting our time not knowing whether something's a rock or a diamond. And that's why I teach and preach meditation, prayer, anything that you can do, anything that can make you realize the core. And that's what it's all about, realizing the core. So no matter what anybody tells you, whether they're from a Sufi religion or Buddhist or Christianity or Muslim, whatever religion they're from, in your heart, what they say is true. And you can agree with them and you can hug them. And then you also know in your heart what is false. And that's the difference between you and the rest of existence when you do realize this core that I'm trying to share with you. And even though you don't realize it, every step you take towards experiencing that core takes 1,000 steps towards you. I mean, you won't feel it because at first all you feel is your essence, but eventually your essence gives way and you give in to the whole. And when you give into the whole, then you become more in essence a part of the whole again, rather than feeling like you're separate from the whole. So I hope I answered some of the major questions. I think we went over a lot in the last 15, 20 minutes. But I wanted to thank you again for joining me. I really enjoy sharing my love and my understanding with as many as I can. And I hope that you share my lessons in these podcasts with your friends, and we just keep growing as one whole unity together in love, meditation, prayer, and this thing we call life, and this expression that love life as deeply as possible, and you will experience the core. Thank you again for joining me. Take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you another time. Take care. Bye.